This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Good morning, Grant. Good morning, Sports World. How are you, Grant?
I'm wonderful. Just going to say
you?
I'm wonderful so I can pretend that I'm wonderful.
Are you like Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank?
No,
You don't have as quite a... You have more hair than he does.
Is that the bald guy?
That's the bald guy Rogers beat on Jeopardy. Not the astronaut, the other guy.
Oh, like the kind of big scary dude?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, he's not very tall, but he's kind of scary. He's got that face. Either way. Good morning, everybody.
I've only watched that show like twice.
Hey, it's a great show. I recommend it. Shark Tank.
It's not like I don't like it. It's just that I don't have television.
The internet's a wonderful thing. YouTube it. I'm sure
I
you can figure it out.
guess.
Anyway,
Also
good morning,
time.
everybody. It's Wednesday, Grant, which means what?
Hump day.
There we go.
I was like, what?
It's a Wednesday. It's a hump day. Yeah, there you go.
That's
well
what
done.
it is.
Well done.
Oh.
Good morning, everybody. As we mentioned, today is another exciting edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show. We have a lot of exciting things going on. Later on in the show, Megan Landvatter will be joining us to talk about the multiple injuries that continue to pile up for the Green Bay Packers, and also take a look at what other teams in the NFC might be able to challenge the Packers this season. The latest Bax and Grant Sports Show power rankings are out as well. Courtesy of the Bax and Grant Sports Show staff, we have a full list of new teams. A new number one this week. That will make Grant happy and most of the Midwest happy, or not, depending on how you follow. But it's exciting, some surprise teams. And we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show, but we do want to take this time to remind you that you can check out the Bax and Grant Sports Show Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. Central live on Spreaker.com and on Periscope. Hello, good morning, everybody out there on Periscope. Nice to see you. Nice to all the hearts, all the poking, all the love, all the sharing, etc. Thank you for the hearts. But you can also catch us on sportsradioamerica.com, live 365, and tune in from 11 to 1 p.m. Central, and on demand anytime if you want to listen to us while you're maybe making lunch, you're going to walk the dog in the morning, or driving into work, or pretending like you're doing work at work.
There you go.
You can listen to us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com.
Promoting laziness over here.
I don't promote laziness. Some people need a little extra boost to get through the mornings.
All right, call it that. Well, you can also find us on Facebook at the Bax and Grant Sports Show. We're also on Twitter at BG Sports Show. Baxter is at Baxter Colburn. I am at Grant's Rant BGSS, and I'm trying to become more active. If you notice the last couple days, I have been tweeting more.
Well done.
So you're welcome. Also, we are on Instagram, and we are at BG Sports Show well.
I'm so proud.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Grant. Well, the first topic that we're going to be talking about...
I think I know what it is, actually.
What is it?
Sorry, I think it was because since the official Badgers football page started following me, which was weird. And it's not one of those things where they follow everybody that follows them.
It's true.
They only have 8,000
They have an
people
elite
or something.
following.
Yeah, and then they followed me, and then all of a sudden I'm just apparently have the desire to tweet all the time.
Suddenly
now.
you're like, I need to talk smart so the Badgers Twitter account doesn't unfollow me, because I'm sure they go through and be like, ah ha ha, he's not tweeting.
He's being
unfollow.
That's probably what happens.
Yeah, you should just start trashing and slandering them and seeing how long it takes them to unfollow
No,
you. Don't do that.
I don't want that.
I would not
at
want
all.
that for you. I'm happy for
cry.
you. I'm happy for you. I don't.
It's like I'm moving forward with my relationship with somebody.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the Badgers Twitter followed me, so you could say things are getting serious. Next thing you know, you'll be working under Barry Alvarez, and then I'll just be a distant thought in your mind, Grant, with what I once was.
Sure, that's gonna happen.
Wouldn't that be a bit ironic, though, if you were the one that landed the big time job in the sports industry?
I'd say give it to this guy. I don't deserve it. Trust me. He makes me look good.
I do what I can. Well, you made me look good this morning and last night, Grant, by putting some extra time and effort to compile a very interesting list.
What do you mean? I always make you look good.
Well, sure, I suppose. Even though you just said I make you look good, so we're contradicting each other.
We're scratching each other's backs. That's what we're doing here.
Thank you. That feels nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, Grant, I'd let you introduce our first segment this morning, since you were the one that put in all the time and effort to make it happen.
Yeah. So I just had this idea because I was thinking about how what's his face, Tony Romo. That's who it is. Tony Romo just going down with a approximately 10-week clavicle injury. And I was with the whole Matt Castle now being traded there for a draft pick. That was weird. And
They physically traded for him?
They
I thought
traded.
he was just off a roster and they just signed him.
No, well, because Matt Castle did have a big contract with the Bills, and then they're like, oh, we have Tyrod Taylor, we're going to go with him.
That's right, because they re-signed Castle after they cut. Oh, okay.
Yes, for a lot less money. But the article I was reading was like, and he has an 8-month pregnant wife, so they need money. So he was like, I'll come
What
back.
did he do with the money he's been making in the NFL the last few
I don't
years?
know. I think that's a little. I think he has some. I don't think money's going to be a huge issue for him.
Hopefully not.
But then the Dallas Cowboys traded the Bills a 5th-round draft pick.
Really?
And the Bills sent back a 7th-round draft pick to them and Castle.
Interesting.
So that was the trade that happened yesterday. So maybe not showing the most trust in Brandon Weeden, even though the Cowboys owner came out and said, because I'm forgetting his name right now, so that's why.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, Jerry Jones. Thank you. Jerry Jones
The
came
godfather of football, basically.
pretty much. Came out the other day and said that they had full faith in Brandon Weeden. Apparently not. Or maybe they're bringing in a little competition for him. We'll see how that goes. But that got me thinking, like, look across the board of some of the different quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks in the NFL, just in case something happened to them, and how the rest of the season might go. So, and then last night, I went and made a nice little flowy chart, and then Baxter went and added some colors, and I went and on the official websites of the teams, it was still the unofficial depth chart.
Sure.
So the rankings of starter to backup may be a little wonky, but I try to update them with how things have been going by myself.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was the whole roster. The only thing that wasn't there was Matt Castle was still on the Bills website and not on the Cowboys. But other than that, it's everybody.
It's everybody. Everybody and their mother. Well, looking at the backup quarterbacks, I would say that I recognize a majority of these players' names, whether they've played in the NFL as starters or seen the field or just recognize some of the names from college. It's funny, though, that there is just a crap load of awful quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I mean, really.
Finding a good quarterback
If you
is
are
hard.
an NFL franchise and you think, okay, our starting quarterback is, hypothetically, Matt Ryan for Atlanta. Good quarterback, solid.
Not horrible.
And you are, trying to focus on building your team, and you say, well, Matt, hey, if you go down, at least we have Sean Renfree.
Said no one ever.
Who the hell is Sean Renfree? I'm
right. That was one of the guys when I was typing, like, oh, who's this guy?
I pride myself on knowing a fair amount of knowledge about a lot of things, or try to pretend to. I've never heard of Sean Renfree.
Never.
I remember when
ever.
Matt Schaub was Matt Ryan's backup.
Right.
And that was probably the best backup in the NFL at the time. I would still consider Matt Schaub to be one of the best backup quarterbacks since he's in that role again over at Baltimore.
Right.
But still, like, some of these teams, they are putting so much time and effort and money into just their starting quarterback that if they go down, there goes their season. It's like you need to at least have a semi-comparable backup, just in case.
Right, or if you look at the Detroit Lions, if you have Matthew Stafford, decent quarterback, not horrible. Never heard of this guy, Dan.
You've never heard of Dan Orlovsky?
Never heard of Dan
He's
Orlovsky.
actually been their backup quarterback for, for a pretty long time,
really?
Actually. He's been the same consistent backup for a while. He's seen the field a few times, even against Green Bay. But it's one of those guys that I think he's accepted his role as a backup quarterback, and he does fairly well with it.
Right. So, Baxter, looking at this list, you threw out Matt Schaub before as possibly being a decent backup quarterback. Who do you think is also another one of those standout, could potentially not excel, but keep a team afloat until the starter could get back?
Well, I would have to venture farther down the list. I would probably look at players like Mike Glennon down in Tampa Bay. He was their starter last year before Jameis Winston came in along with Josh McCown, but I like the way Glennon plays. I'm a fan of his game since he's a younger guy. I really like Colt McCoy in Washington.
Right. Yeah.
I like Kirk Cousins as well. I mean, represent the Big Ten a little bit there, Kirk, but still, I think that McCoy maybe should have gotten the starting job over Cousins.
And, you know, Robert Griffin, even though hasn't been the same since that ACL injury, he did start for a while, and he did put up some big numbers. So it's not like he is a horrible backup
It's
either.
weird to see that he's listed third on that
Yeah,
depth chart
on the Redskins website, they have him listed as third. And
They
then
just
on
don't care anymore.
On the Jets website, they have Geno Smith listed as the third, too. It's like,
where does
geez.
his jaw, is his jaw the fourth string quarterback, or where does his jaw fall into line with this?
All right.
Yeah. Any of the other guys on this list, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think we've seen a lot from him in the preseason.
I'm looking at two big ones over at the Eagles. You have Mark Sanchez, who is a very comparable backup. Also at Pittsburgh now, Michael Vick.
Oh, the Vick show.
Michael Vick. He's still in the league. Yes, shocker of the year. So,
Do you think people get more annoyed with Michael Vick going to a team or the millions of possible hopes of Tim Tebow going to a team?
No, I actually like both of them.
I do too.
I don't care about Vic, and
Would you have a preference between one of them if you had to pick one of them?
If I had to pick
if you had to
one,
win a game, one game,
who would I want to hear about more?
Or if you had to, if Tebow or Vic, you had to choose from one of them to win one game.
Oh, Tebow, 100%.
Interesting.
I actually really like Tim
Interesting.
Tebow. I like Tim Tebow. I think he should play in the NFL. I think teams aren't giving him a good enough.
Looking at this these lists of players.
You want to know what Tim Tebow has done? Tim Tebow led the Denver Broncos to the playoffs and won a playoff game with them through a game-winning pass. Yeah, it was a slant across the middle. The dude was wide open. He did most of the work.
Irrelevant.
Still, put it in the column. He threw it. He found the guy. He got the ball.
He
didn't throw it behind him or anything. Right in front of him. Very accurate pass. Has worked on his game. Has gotten better at his game. Looked good in the preseason. And I don't know why he's not on a team. He's great for a locker room. And he look at some of these guys. It's like, have they won playoff games before? Have they been there? Have they led a team? Have they started? No. So I think some of them have not.
Some of these guys have never been to the playoffs. It's cool to see a guy like Matt Hasselbeck still in the league.
Right. I saw that. I was like, really?
But he's super old, and I would never want Andrew Luck to go down.
Super old.
I would never want a game on a line and be like, all right, Matt, get in there. Like, he's just too old.
But no, I think he's a decent enough quarterback because he's been there. He's led a team for a couple seasons.
He learned from the great Brett Favre before it was cool. There was
it was very true.
It was Matt Hasselbeck, Aaron Brooks. Hasselbeck was a Seahawk
and Titans, right?
Possibly, I think so. But he was a Seahawk.
He started.
He went to Seattle for a while. He was part of that playoff.
I knew that,
victory.
but I think he went to the Titans too for a while.
Probably. After Seattle, he kind of bounced around a little bit. But yeah, well, let us know your thoughts about who you think the best backup quarterback in the NFL is right now. You can tweet at us at Baxter Colburn, at Grant's Rant BGSS, or at BG Sports Show, or let us know on Periscope as well if you happen to be watching our broadcast. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, Grant's got his rant. You're not going to want to miss it. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome back inside the studio as we are continuing our talk on the NFL and the exciting things happening around it. In our last segment, Grant brought up the topic of who the best backup quarterback in the NFL is. And
we threw out some names.
We did. We threw out a few names.
Name dropped.
I saw you dropping a few sick beats there, Grant. But you had a few. I noticed one team has more than is that 6 backup quarterbacks?
All right, so for the Green Bay Packers,
gosh.
here we go. Aaron Rodgers, Scott Tolzien, and Brett Hundley.
Okay.
And then, so in the little flow chart, I put QB 1 through 3.
Yeah.
And then I put 3 more slots just for this specific purpose.
Boy.
So I'm really glad that no team has more than 4 or more than 3 quarterbacks, because otherwise it would have thrown off this whole thing. But one column is in our hearts, and then it's continued, and then the next one is just because. And I have Brett Favre and Bart Starr in our hearts. And then just because is Matty Flynn.
Oh, no. Where's Matt Blanchard on there? I feel like Matty Blanchard should get
he's on a practice squad somewhere. I did not include practice squad quarterbacks in this list. Should have made that clear. Yeah, if you're like, oh, you forgot the practice squad.
Where's
Buccaneers back
Where's
up.
Seneca Wallace?
Oh, jeez. Wow. Forgot about that guy.
What a great time that was.
And then
Thanks for that one, McCarthy.
One thing, Baxter, I had a question.
Please.
Do you think that Matt Castle or Brandon Weeden is going to start week 3 for the Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, boy. Well, I mean, we mentioned yesterday that to never trust a ginger. No, that has nothing to do with it. Andy Dalton, that's why Andy Dalton will never win a playoff game. Goodness. I think Brandon Weeden's been in the system too long to not play him, even though I know Jerry Jones is, not thrilled.
Right.
But anybody aside from Tony Romo, Jerry Jones doesn't like.
Interesting stat for you. Somebody was saying that, Matt Castle has one of the worst quarterback ratings since 2007.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
he played for the Vikings for a little while. So
and then I looked. Only one quarterback has a worse quarterback rating than him since 2007.
As a starter, you're saying?
As a quarterback in
Yes.
general. One quarterback, and that is Brandon Weeden.
Oh, my gosh. What? I feel like somebody goes in and changes the stats, and then that's why we have conversations like this. Because oh my gosh, did you know Matt Castle has had the second worst? Oh really? Who's the first? Oh, Brandon Weeden. Oh, of course it is.
In your face.
Of course it is.
Yeah, but for me, Matt Castle, he's played with a couple different football teams, has started a couple times, so he knows how it is. Brandon Weeden, he's had time, but he's had time. But I just more recently, I would feel that Matt Castle has a better game. But if I had to choose between two of them, it's kind of like which foot do I want to shoot myself in first, kind of thing.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. Game on the line. I need a 2-minute drill offense to score. Matt Castle, Brandon Weeden.
Cry in a corner.
I'd probably punt. I'd just probably punt on first.
Try to punt it through the field goal points.
What's wrong with that?
For 0.5 points or something like that. It counts, right?
Yeah. Okay. Side note. I feel like I need a little something like a sound effect every time I say side note. I'd be like a side note, $5. No. Side note. I am a firm believer that the NFL should award 1 point on kickoffs if you make it through the uprights. If you're a kicker and you put it through the uprights, I think your team should be awarded 1 point.
That would mess the game up, though, I think.
But it's another added thing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Get the kickers more involved, Grant.
Yeah, it's fun, but I
it doesn't
think
happen every time.
It lacks professionalism a little bit, I think. And
how does it lack professionalism?
I just feel like it's just kind of like a goofy thing where it's just kind of like, it might work. It's not super skill involved. And I think the system is set up well enough where they kind of have the points balanced out, where it's like, okay, we need 8 points, so we're still a one-possession game, and then all of a sudden, they just randomly kicked it through the field goal post, and now it's not. Yeah, so it's just really messing with football.
I think so, but it does help protect the return guys. It does allow for
the return guys have been protected so much, moving up the kickoff from 5 years ago, whenever that was, and that limited the returns by almost half. It feels like it's not a very accurate stat, but it feels like most of the time it goes through the back of the end zone.
Usually, so that's why I'm saying it adds a bit of pressure then for the kicker because it's an unrushed, it's just you and the ball.
I think it's adding too much.
Fair enough.
I think moving the extra point back is adding too much.
I think that's a good idea.
I think that was adding too much. Well, already there have been more missed extra points this year than there have been last year.
A 33-yard field goal is not as easy as people think it is. It's like, oh, it's 33 yards. Well, you jump out there in the middle of an NFL game and try to, kick a ball 33 yards, and you tell me how hard it is.
And just doing it over and over and over again. Well, if you have a decent enough kicker, well, I was going to say Vinatieri, but we all know how that has been as
that hasn't
late.
Worked out well for a few people, especially in our fantasy league.
Gostkowski.
Yes.
And not Matt Flynn. Why? Mason Crosby.
There we go.
There we go.
Matt Flynn's playing every position in Green Bay.
But players like that, I don't think Gostkowski has missed yet. I
don't think so.
Could be wrong. I don't think he's missed yet. I know Mason Crosby hasn't missed yet. Knock on wood. But yeah, he's
usually good for at least one or two.
Yeah, he had that booming 55-yarder last week.
He made it look very easy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, come on, don't miss it. I don't want negative points. But then he got me like 6 points for that or 5 points.
Yeah, 50-yard field goals are always a little extra. All right, Grant. Well, it is the time of the show for your rant. It is a Wednesday edition of the Baxter Grant Sports Show.
No digression happened there at all.
Not at all.
Gentlemen, no digression.
Well, we said that we were going to do your rant in this segment. We just didn't say when.
Yeah, and
so we didn't lie.
This one can be a little shorter.
We didn't lie
to
the people.
No, I'm not saying we're lying. We just digressed.
Well, it happens.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows the show knows that stuff happens.
That's very true. We do it very frequently.
1 minute on the clock for you, Grant. Are you ready?
I am ready.
And begin.
Johnny Manziel just came off of his first starting career victory with the Cleveland Browns, 28-14. And now they're talking about when Josh McCown gets better, we're going to sit Manziel. And when Manziel was the starter, it's like, after Hoyer left, now we're going to bring in this new guy, even though we drafted Manziel to start. Yes, he's gone through drug and alcohol problems, but rumors are that it was actually worse than people expected, and the amount of progress and why it took so long in rehab, the progress that he's making has actually been inspirational, and the Browns front office has taken note and are saying that he has greatly improved. Also, last week his quarterback rating was 133.9, his highest Browns quarterback QB rating since 2007, but he only threw 15 passes, and his O-line has been awful, so I think you should give him more chances.
And it's interesting, too, because yesterday Joe Thomas, one of the leading offensive lineman in the NFL, but also one of the guys that is in charge with protecting Johnny Manziel, came out and said that he is starting to trust Manziel a little bit more. Because one thing you want is a good relationship as a quarterback, not only with your center, but the five guys that are being paid millions of dollars to protect you. Because if you make them mad, there's going to be a lot of, I'm going to block. Oh, go ahead, and then they just take out the quarterback. And he was coming out saying that. I think that Johnny's showing a lot of improvements. He's proving to the team that he is getting better, that he wants to be here, that he has got this ability to win games. And it was good to hear that a veteran was coming out and trying to at least protect Johnny a little bit.
Well, yeah, but he's not doing it on the field. If you look back-to-back weeks now, he has been strip-sacked twice. Yes, that's a little bit on Manziel. He needs to protect the football.
He does,
but also if the defense is getting back there, it's a little on the offensive line too. So yeah, that is something for Manziel to work on. But yeah, like I said, he only had 15 attempts last week, and he still produced a fairly decent game.
That's a very good game.
Got his first win. So I think the Browns, there's maybe a step in the right direction, though. Maybe trust him a little more.
Mm-hmm.
If McCown stays injured for a little while longer, and because he's still I don't think he's been cleared yet to play because he has a concussion, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So he has not cleared concussion protocol, so that's still that'll give Manziel a little bit of time to prove himself.
One thing I find interesting is that in the NFL, if you have a situation like the Browns do, where you lose one quarterback and then you bring in another guy and he plays fairly well, that as soon as the starter is brought in, or the supposed starter, that the team is so quick to jump right back on that bandwagon, assuming that the backup doesn't play well. If the backup plays well, usually they still go back to the starter. And
Sometimes.
And I think that's what's going to happen again, and we talked about this briefly yesterday, what's going to happen in Dallas. Even if Brandon Weeden or Matt Castle were to come in a really weird circumstance and pull off 5 to even 8 wins until Tony Romo comes back, Tony Romo's still going to start when he comes back.
Right.
Because Jerry Jones cannot exist without Tony Romo, which is interesting because if you have the confidence, you have the chemistry booming with one quarterback, why bring in another guy?
Yeah,
Let him finish it out and be like, look, Tony, we love you. You got hurt. We're winning a bunch of games because of Brandon, because of Matt.
Which is not going to happen, but in the weird scenario, which does.
Exactly. It is. There's that hypothetical bit about it. I mean, you don't see people down in Indianapolis begging for Matt Hasselbeck to get on the field since Andrew Luck has been a turnover machine. He's had 27 turnovers since 2014. 21 interceptions, I think 7 fumbles.
Yeah, and
28 turnovers. Yeah,
he had 4 turnovers last night.
Yeah, 3 interceptions
Monday
and
night.
a fumble. Like, you don't see anybody in Indianapolis begging for Andrew Luck to get benched. You don't see that. Oh,
I am
want
for my
Hasselbeck.
fantasy team.
Well, that makes sense because you don't have any direct ties to the organization. It's interesting to see that.
Right.
You see these quarterbacks that are having issues, or if Ben Roethlisberger were to have a bad day, you don't see Michael Vick getting petitioned to get out there and start.
But in the case of Andrew Luck, look what he has done, though.
Exactly.
After a team has a quarterback like Peyton Manning, they lose him. Clearly, they need somebody to step up and fill his shoes. And Andrew Luck, I think, has done a pretty decent job of doing that, where you don't really hear comparisons about you don't really hear that, Peyton Manning was better. You start hearing which one is better. I don't think anybody's going to say that Andrew Luck is better than Peyton Manning was at his time, but he's still young in his career, and I think people understand that and see potential in there. I think he may be a little bit overhyped with how much he turns the ball over. But I think if he starts taking care of that, he's really going to shape himself up, maybe be the best quarterback looking maybe 5 years into the future.
Ooh, 5 years
when depending how long Aaron Rodgers stays in the league and if he tails off kind of like how Peyton Manning's doing in his career.
Yes.
If Aaron Rodgers starts doing that near the end, which I don't even want to think about.
That's 7 years away.
That's making me sad even thinking about that. But maybe Andrew Luck, that's his name. Andrew Luck will by that point be near the peak of his career.
That's true.
We'll see.
I'm absolutely curious to see what happens. And just one other thing, too. Like, even in Denver, when Peyton Manning had an awful start to the season, didn't see any Brock Osweiler chance. Because Denver knows that they're screwed if they brought in Brock Osweiler.
Well, and they know a good quarterback. Everybody's going to have a bad game. Even Aaron Rodgers had that bad game against the Saints last year.
He did.
Yeah, and he has bad games just like everybody else. So you have to.
That game.
We're not talking about it.
Oh,
I never talk about Packers.
Way to bring that one up again.
But you just have to look at the overall quality of the quarterback you have and realize that sometimes they're going to make mistakes. And to help with our confidence, you can't just bench him right away and just hit the panic button as hard as you can. Yeah, if they start dropping games left and right, then you look for solutions. But a game or two, no.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Megan Landvatter is going to be in the studio to talk about the injury situation in Green Bay and what teams in the NFC could possibly even think about challenging the Packers for an NFC championship. We'll be right back. This is the Bax and Grand Sports Show. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome back inside the studio as we get ready to talk with Megan Landvatter about the Green Bay Packers. It's an exciting time. Megan, welcome to the show. How you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Excited to be talking about the Green Bay Packers with someone that has such a distinct knowledge about the game. So we're curious to hear your thoughts, and I think the big conversation that people want to hear is in regards to all of the injuries that continue to happen with the Packers.
Yeah, it's been interesting, but I don't think that there's necessarily a reason to panic in Green Bay. I always go back to the Super Bowl year when there were a ton of injuries, and we were able to overcome that. So obviously you never want to see guys leave the field or, be injured, but definitely not time to panic.
Now, with the injuries that were taking place last week, we saw Eddie Lacy, we saw Josh Boyd, and we saw Davante Adams all pick up injuries in some way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, Josh Boyd got the worst end of it as his season is over. Is the loss of Boyd for the season detrimental to the Packers' success moving forward, or was this someone that they can easily replace?
I wouldn't say it's detrimental. Obviously, any guy that's on the starting roster is obviously, when you have a starting roster, you put your best foot forward. So now we have to go with someone else, and it's not going to be completely easy. But I don't think it's something that is not. I think we can overcome it. So.
Yeah, and with Josh Boyd, it's not like he was the captain of the defense or anything major like that. Yes, he, like Megan said, you put your best players first when you start them, and it is unfortunate when they get injured. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying that he's not an explosive player.
So, yeah. Had it been like a B.J. Raji or someone that Mike Neal that is more of a consistent threat on the defensive line.
Or like when Jordy Nelson went out, everybody and their mother had a funeral for his ACL. They're not seeing that with Josh Boyd.
Yeah, no, and I think it's interesting that when a player gets hurt, that some people are very quick to be like, "Oh no, I hope you feel better," and other people are like, "Eh."
The Packers will be okay after this injury, I promise.
Yeah, and I think something that's concerning, though, is Brian Bulaga.
Yes.
Now, Megan, looking at how much pass rush the Seahawks brought, I feel like Kansas City is going to try to do the exact same thing with their talented outside linebackers in Justin Houston and Tamba Hali. Is the Packers' offensive line going to be able to keep Rodgers upright, even though Bulaga's gone against them on Monday night?
Yeah, I think that they will be able to protect Aaron Rodgers even with the Bulaga injury. And the reason that I say that is in the past there have been players in the offensive line, Bulaga included, that have been injured or not quite there, and the offensive line has managed to pull together. Rodgers might take a few sacks. It might be more difficult, but I think that they will be able to overall protect him, and I don't think it's going to be a huge issue.
And especially with Rodgers being such a mobile quarterback, we've seen it help him, and the offensive line doesn't need to be Cowboys of last year's status, really, if they want to protect Aaron Rodgers. So he can be mobile. I don't know why I'm saying mobile. That's just weird. I'm going like weirdly British for a second. Mobile. And then also Barclay, I believe it's pronunciation, because I know that one's Barkley and one's Barclay. The back
a bar of clay, basically.
Yes. He in the preseason did not do well. We talked about this the other day, but when last week against the Seahawks, he actually did a fairly decent job. I think I only saw him got beat a couple of times just because he got just straight up overpowered. But for the most part, he made pretty decent improvements from the preseason game. So I think he'll be a nice little backup for Bulaga until we wait for his return.
Now let me ask you this, Megan. Have you seen anything from the wide receivers this year since Jordy Nelson has gone down? We've seen Cobb pick up a small injury with his shoulder. Has Green Bay's receivers as a whole done enough to make people not necessarily forget about Jordy Nelson, but at least realize that it's going to be okay?
Yeah, I think that the addition of James Jones is huge this year. Obviously, Jones has 3 touchdowns and has seemingly moved in as Rodgers' go-to guy, which is killing me in fantasy because I have Davante Adams, so that was just rough. But no, I think that the receiving core is still good. I like the addition of James Jones, Randall Cobb, Davante Adams. They're all still guys that he can go to. And look, Jordy Nelson isn't going to be a guy that you can replace, and he was a big part of our offense, but I think from what we've seen, I think Rodgers and the receiving core are going to be just fine this year. The offense is still great, still one that is prolific and one of the best in the NFL. So
now, when you say best in the NFL, we look around the NFL, especially in the NFC, to teams that are undefeated. Right now, there are a total of 5 undefeated teams in the NFC, Green Bay being one of those 5. Do you feel like there is anybody else in the NFC that will rival what Green Bay is doing right now? Usually the conversation begins with, well, it's Green Bay and Seattle. Seattle's 0-2 right now, and traditionally, at least out of how the stat people go, the analytics, only one 0-2 team in the NFL ever makes the playoffs.
Yeah, and actually, interestingly, Green Bay has been that team in recent years who has overcome the 0-2 start and gone on to go to the playoffs. But now that Seattle's, originally I would say maybe Seattle, but the fact that they're 0-2, we have tiebreaker that puts us 3 games above them. So, they're not. I don't think going to be a competition. You could say maybe the Cardinals. They've looked good this season, but realistically, I look around the NFC. And don't get me wrong, there are good football teams, but I do think that where we stand right now, that the road to the Super Bowl will go through Green Bay.
Yeah, I think if we're going to talk about contenders, you definitely have to throw in the Arizona Cardinals. They've looked like they picked up exactly where they left off from the last year's season after that unfortunate Carson Palmer injury.
That was just so bad to see. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were doing so well throughout the beginning part of the season, then that happened, and then you could just kind of see their season unravel. So I think they're a big contender. Also, you have to take into account that, yes, the Atlanta Falcons, yes, the Carolina Panthers aren't that good, but you also have to look that so is everybody else in their division. So if one particular team just gangs up and beats up on everybody else, that's 6 wins right there. And if they have some comparable wins throughout the season and maybe the NFC's just not that good, you never know. You could see somebody like the Atlanta Falcons or the Carolina Panthers stepping up because their division is so bad. So it just kind of just gives them free wins.
It does, yeah, and that's an interesting part about it is that in the NFC South, anything is literally possible, as we saw last season. Now, Megan, towards the end of the year, the conversation, I'm sure, will be circling around, is Dallas going to make the playoffs? And if they do, is it a wild card, or do they find a way to get a first-round bye because of how supposedly open the NFC is right now?
I think that the Cowboys are probably... I'm trying to think. Well, no, I'll say that they'll go and they'll win their division. I don't think their division is that challenging. So I think even despite the Tony Romo injury, I think that they will win their division. Once Tony Romo comes back from that injury, he'll be back for playoffs. So, again, anything can happen in playoffs. So it'll be interesting. But I do think they'll be division winners despite the injury. Yeah,
and you have to look at the others in their division. You have the New York Giants, who can't seem to close out games, even though the Giants have looked good, they haven't been able to close out any of their games. Start 0-2. Philadelphia Eagles, all the hype, worth nothing. They have just
still early, but I get what you're saying.
But they have not proven anything to see that they can be a decent football team. Now you have the Washington Redskins, who came in and people are thinking that their season was over before the games even started, and now they're 1-1. They don't look like they're blowing anybody out of the water, but they don't look like an awful football team.
That's true.
So we'll have to see how they produce. And if the Cowboys can stay afloat, they have a 2-game head start ahead of everybody right now. And they don't have an extremely difficult schedule. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but you never know. It's the NFL. We saw Jacksonville.
Yeah,
we saw a bunch of weird teams win the other.
That's the way the NFL goes, though.
Yeah, so you never know. We can sit here predicting all day long, but I do think the Cowboys will take the division.
Absolutely.
Because that division is just not going to be that decent this year.
No, absolutely not. Last thing for you, Megan, before we let you go. Prediction for Monday Night Football as they are renewing the Super Bowl I rivalry and even the whole fact that Kansas City deflated. Oh, maybe not that word. They hindered Green Bay from winning an undefeated season back in 2011. Any rivalries that are brewing? Any predictions for how this game is going to go?
I'll say 24-21 Green Bay.
Wow, that close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close. I mean, I don't think Kansas City's a horrible football. I think they'll keep it close, but I don't see the Packers losing this game like they did in 2000 and what gosh, 2010.
It was 2011.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yep.
yeah, the year after we won the Super Bowl. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
I was debating 2010, 2011. So yeah.
It happens. Anyway, thank you so much, Megan, for stopping by. We appreciate your insight. Where can people find you on Twitter?
They can find me at LawnVotter812.
LawnVotter812. Megan Landvetter, always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you as well.
Thank you. All right, we're going to a break. When we come back, we have our official power rankings here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be right back. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome back inside the studio on a Wednesday edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show.
Woo-hoo!
How you
Hump
doing?
day!
Yeah. How you doing, Grant? Having a good time?
Oh, I'm having a great time. We're having a fantastic show.
Absolutely. We've had a great time so far. A time, something like that. A great time. There it is. Time is ticking away. Tick, tick, ticking away. Anyway, welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show. I'm Bax. This is Grant alongside
Hello.
me. Hello, all of you watching on Periscope. Remember, you can catch us.
Periscopians.
Periscopians, Periscopians.
I like that one. Periscopians.
Scopians.
Escape.
It's like escape. Wow. Are you going to see Finding Dory?
Oh, of course. Opening day.
Some people have been boycotting. They're like, it's not the same as
Yeah,
Finding
I don't
Nemo.
care, but it's the same creators. If it sucks, oh well. But Finding Nemo is arguably my most favorite movie of all time.
And it'll only cost you the admission of your firstborn to get
Right.
to see it. So.
But I love Finding Nemo, so
What's
I am
not to
jumping
love?
on that Finding Dory train.
Let's
Prequel.
go. Prequel. Is
Yeah,
it a prequel?
it's a prequel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a prequel to Finding Nemo.
Oh,
At least that's what I've been told.
interesting.
Yeah, I
did not
don't know
that.
much about the plot and why we're finding Dory, but yeah, I don't know.
Why do we? Yeah. But because
don't-
people rather watch Dory for
I
an
sh-
hour and a half than they would
right?
Marlin.
Like, come on, it's Ellen DeGeneres.
Seriously, love her. All right, Grant. Our power rankings are out. It's an exciting time here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show as our staff has come together and put our collective noggins together. We have argued, we've debated, we have voted, and the dust has now settled.
There wasn't like much argument, really.
There wasn't. No, there was a little bit of debate on who the number one team was,
Right.
but even that was relatively.
And I mean,
well disputed.
that's fair because the two number one teams fairly close.
Yeah.
But I'm going to point out the numbers when we get to them.
Absolutely.
Get to them so people see why I'm not biased, because I knew that's going to be the first thing. Because last week, that's what happened, because I was the only one, and everybody's like, oh, Grant, you're biased. Well, I went and I did my research, and I
Well
found
done.
numbers to back me up.
Well
so
done.
Get
All
off
right.
my back, you haters.
Absolutely. Well, a brief recap for everybody. Last week, our power rankings 1 through 10 were the Patriots at number 1, Green Bay at 2, Arizona 3, Buffalo 4, Kansas City 5, Dallas 6, Seattle 7, Denver 8, Cincinnati 9, and Miami 10. On the outside looking in was St. Louis and Atlanta. That was last week. This is this week. Our two teams looking in this week are the San Diego Chargers, who received 5 total points, or 5 total votes, I suppose. It's points, not votes. And the New York Jets, who received 17 points in our voting.
I put them in my top 10, so obviously
I did as well.
Obviously I think they should be up there, but I just think the Jets are a really shocker this year. I think they've done a really good job opening up the season.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not 10th, they're definitely 11th in my heart. They have done a very good job this year, taking it to the Colts Monday night. National television. I think that's a really good thing for the organization. Ryan Fitzpatrick doing exceptional at the beginning of the season.
He really did.
And being more confirmed, the reports yesterday were saying that the Jets organization has come out and said that Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter unless he starts performing poorly. So Geno Smith is going to be
he's on a one-interception basis. He throws a pick. All right, Geno, get back in.
Pretty
there.
much. Well, look at how bad Geno Smith played last year.
Exactly.
I'm so glad they're
Keep
just
Ryan in for at
sticking
least
with
a
him.
little while.
Because with the whole Hoyer situation last year with the Browns, I'm not taking any quarterback position for granted.
Absolutely, you never can. All right, Grant. Well, moving into our top 10 here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show, NFL Power Rankings as voted by the Bax and Grant Sports Show staff. The way it works is we assign a number value to a position. So if you vote for a team in first place, they receive 10 points. If you vote for a team in 10th place, they receive 1 point. Add all the points up at the end, and this is how we do our power rankings here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show. So, our number 10 team with 22 points is the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo was 4th last week. They have dropped all the way to 10th in our power rankings. I think when you go and get manhandled slightly by Tom Brady,
well, here's the thing with Here's the thing with the Bills. Yes, I got manhandled for 3 quarters, but they didn't quit. And against a New England Patriots team, doesn't have a mind-blowing defense, kind of like the Packers. They have a great offense, not a fantastic defense, but with that kind of style of team, it's really hard to get back into it because they're just so powerful, and the team just carries.
Had it been almost any other opponent, I feel like, and Buffalo would have probably come back and won that game.
Yeah, and they made it really interesting. They were down by, I think, 4 or 3 possessions, and they came and made it a 1-possession game.
I mean, when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions, though, it's hard to win a football game unless you're Seattle.
But then he threw 4 touchdowns on top of that.
He did.
So,
he did.
Young quarterback. He's Tyrod Taylor. Promising.
Absolutely. All right. Number 9, even though they lost their star wide receiver, their star quarterback, the Dallas Cowboys have managed to grab the 9th spot with 24 points. They were 6th in our power rankings last week. They have dropped down to 9 this week. I can take or leave the Dallas Cowboys. I would have honestly pushed the Cowboys out of my power rankings and bumped the Bills and the Jets up, personally.
That's what I did. Instead of having the Cowboys in there, I had the Jets in there. Yep. I think the Cowboys are the worst 2-0 team, even with Tony Romo, because when Tony Romo was in the game, the play was still bad. Even with Tony Romo, they almost lost against the Giants week 1. So the team overall, with Tony Romo, bad. Without Tony Romo,
even
worse.
Absolutely. All right, number 8 is the Atlanta Falcons. They received 30 total points in our voting as we are talking about the Bax and Grant Sports Show Week 2 power rankings. Last week, Atlanta was an outsider looking in. They only got 3 points last week in a vote during the voting process. They now have 30 this week. The masses are relatively happy with what Atlanta is doing down there in the Peach State.
Yeah, 2-0. Great way to start off the season.
Absolutely.
Especially in that NFC South division where every win.
Getting wins now is what needs to happen. You need to get the wins now for Atlanta and Carolina. It's going to be, I feel like, a boat race for them to the end to see who ends up winning. And then
pretty much.
And at the end of the day, it's going to be Tampa Bay that somehow manages to win the division.
Tampa Bay is only 1 game behind right
That's
now.
True.
They're 1-1.
That's the weird part about it. Gosh, the NFC South is so weird.
I wouldn't mind seeing Tampa Bay going into the playoffs.
Just so Green Bay can stomp on Jameis Winston, please. That's fine.
When the Texans were, or no, not the Texans, when the Browns last season were knocking on the door of the playoffs, we were both pushing for it.
We were.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Titans.
It'd be nice to see some of the not cookie cutter teams,
the Buccaneers or the Jaguars. I'd love to see one of those teams make it into the playoffs within the next couple of years.
They're both 1-1 right now.
I'd like to see that.
Everyone's a contender.
And
right
I worked with a Jaguars fan, and knowing the loyalty that they have to, and the pain they have to go through, they deserve it. Because he took the crap from everybody. First of all, living in heart of Wisconsin, Green Bay territory, toting around the Jaguars flag,
him. Wow.
jerseys, proudly. Didn't even care if his team was 2-14. He was diehard.
What a guy.
Fans
That's
like
a true
that.
fan.
Fans like that deserve
They get your
playoffs.
respect.
They deserve it.
They do. Kind of like how the Kansas City Chiefs are at number 7, which is a little surprising. They're 1-1. They received 38 total points in our voting. They dropped from 5 down to 7 in our power rankings this week as Kansas City holds on to that. They will take on Green Bay this week. It'll be an interesting clash on Monday Night Football.
I think it'll be a interesting test for the defense, considering that the Chiefs don't have explosive wide receivers. And Baxter, we were talking about this the other day, that the Chiefs don't have great receivers, and I'm calling it right now. The Packers are going to give a Chiefs wide receiver their first catching touchdown.
Absolutely.
It's going to happen because
That's how it always happens
the
against
Packers
the
have a knack for doing stuff like that.
It's like, oh, what?
Like,
You haven't done something all year? Oh, we were happy to give it to you. We're
right,
happy
like
to do that
a couple
for you.
years ago when the Packers haven't lost to the Lions in Thanksgiving, like for a obscene number of years, and then they did it 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like, oh, sure, there you go.
Their knack for stuff like that. But
Someone's got to be that team.
the Chiefs have arguably the best tight end in the league with Travis Kelce, and they also have running back in Jamal Charles. So
I think it'll be interesting to see what they do this week with Alex Smith running the show.
And Alex Smith is one of those decent quarterbacks. He's kind of Matthew Stafford level. I have some faith in him. I know that people don't, but I think he's a great quarterback.
Fair enough.
Or not a great quarterback. He's a good
He's
quarterback.
a good quarterback.
We'll
There
say
you
that.
go.
Not great.
That's a good way to position it, yes. Our number 6 team was not in our power rankings last week. They were in our preseason ones and then fell out. Our number 6 team at 53 points is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and with the way they've been playing in the first 2 games, rightfully so, they've earned it. Their offense starting to kick into high gear.
Well, one game. Their first game against the Patriots was not a very good performance.
No.
But then seeing how they performed last week with Roethlisberger going off.
And Antonio Brown almost 200 receiving yards.
He is destroying the defense, so I think that 6 is a pretty good spot. If they have a couple more caliber wins, you'll see them creeping up on the list.
Yep, absolutely. Our number 5 team was number 9 last week with 55 points. That would be the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not completely sold on Cincinnati. I think they've got a good product, but I really just am curious to see what they're going to do, even just over the next 2 games. Cincinnati, I don't mind them.
Can't trust a ginger, but
Amen.
The Bengals are, kind of one of those. Yes, sometimes. Okay.
Yes,
actually,
during the regular season.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Actually, yes, during the regular season, but then you get to the postseason and nothing.
Was that Andy?
Then
I think
you
that
get
might be
nothing.
Andy Dalton's fault more than it is the
Right.
rest of the team's fault. But what are you going to do? Number 4 on our power rankings, as we're talking about the Baxton Grand Sports Show Week 2 NFL Power Rankings. Our number 4 team is the Denver Broncos with 67 points. They were 8th place last week, jumped all the way up to 4. 67 points, 4th place.
I think 4 is a little high for them.
Ooh,
In
interesting.
my opinion, I put them lower.
Okay.
And I believe I put them 6 in mine. Or 7, actually. I put them
Wow.
7 in my rankings. Just a couple things with Peyton Manning being Peyton Manning who he is right now. I'm not taking anything away from him. The man was a fantastic football player. You can still maybe say is a fantastic football player. Definitely not at the level that he was.
No.
The man makes fantastic commercials. Love all of them. And he seems like a really good guy. Has championship ring. And I'm not taking anything away from his career, but just right now he is not doing very well.
Fair enough.
And the Broncos have just looked bad in the last couple of weeks. To me, yes, they have won games, and they don't look horrible, but
they don't look great.
They don't look great. They don't look like the 4th best team in the NFL.
That's understandable.
I think the Pittsburgh Steelers look better than them. I even think the Cincinnati Bengals look better than them. And I even put the Kansas City Chiefs ahead of them.
Wow.
That could easily change depending on how the Denver Broncos play this next week. I think Green Bay is going to have no problem with the Chiefs, but if the Chiefs make it interesting, and the Broncos don't do well.
I think they'll get some respect if they can do that.
If they can make it close.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they can still definitely win the game. I'm not taking anything away from them, but just the Packers are just so good. But.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you on that one. Our number 3 team here on the Baxton Grand Sports Show Power Rankings, they did not move last week. They decided to just hang out and chill at the 3rd spot. The Arizona Cardinals receiving 86 total points this week in our voting. not bad. Arizona, I'd like to see a little bit more from them. It's great that they're getting some victories. It's great that Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald are doing well. Still need to see a little bit more from them before I can fully put my trust in this team to be a dominant force in the NFC.
Well, and especially if Carson Palmer gets injured again like last year, well, that kind of ruined their season last year.
It did, and they were down to the third stringer, and we saw how well that worked out for them. Our number 2 team here on the Baxter Grand Sports Show NFL Power Rankings was number 1 last week, but they have dropped down just one position. They received 3 first-place votes and 101 total points overall out of our voting, would be the New England Patriots.
Yes, and there for a couple of reasons. The one is because they let the Bills back into the game week 2, and I'll divulge my stats later when we get to the number 1 team.
Yes.
But I think it's pretty obvious who the number 1 team is
number
by
1
this
team,
point.
yes, is the Green Bay Packers, who was number 2 last week, receiving 8 total first-place votes and 107 points. That's what I wanted, not 107 pies. 107 points is the Green Bay Packers, our new first overall team in the power rankings.
And that reason, another reason why the New England Patriots are number 2 is because the Green Bay Packers were able to control the Seattle Seahawks that they subdued them. Because the Seattle Seahawks, yes, they're 0-2, and people are saying they're not a good team. They still have a decent offense who put 33 points up week 1, held them to 17 points. The Packers held them to 17 points with an okay Packers defense. Now, to the stats I was telling you about, because I put them in number 1, so people know that I'm not biased, I said the Packers gave up 726 yards on defense and gave up 40 points. And I'm just comparing defenses because I think they have very similar offenses and a high caliber style and fantastic quarterbacks. So I'm just going to compare their defenses because that's where I think they're weakest. And then the Patriots gave up 113 yards and gave up 53 points. So that's really where I was judging it by. Yes, the numbers are completely different, but kind of looking how they happen to with letting the Bills back into the game. That's what I also took into. But yeah, so the Packers defense doing a little bit better than the New England Patriots defense, so that's why I gave them the nod to first place.
Absolutely. Well, once again, our Week 2 NFL Power Rankings here on the Baxter Grand Sports Show. Starting from the outside looking in, you've got the Chargers and the Jets looking in. Our 10th place team is Buffalo, 9 is Dallas, 8 is Atlanta, 7 with Kansas City, 6 Pittsburgh, 5 Cincinnati, 4 Denver, 3 Arizona, 2 the New England Patriots, and number 1 for this week, the first week so far in our Power Rankings, is the Green Bay Packers. Let us know your thoughts about them. The Power Rankings will be posted on our Facebook page right after the show is done. So take a look at it. Let us know your thoughts. And if we got it right, if we got it wrong, well, let us know. Submit your own Power Rankings. We'd love to hear from you. Baxter Grant Sports Show, BG Sports Show on Twitter, at Baxter Colburn, at Grant's Rant, BGSS. We'll be right back. This is the Baxter Grant Sports Show. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome back inside the studio here. We've had a great show so far. We just released our 2015 Week 2 NFL Power Rankings.
Power Rankings.
We need power rank. We need something.
Like explosion and flames shooting through
some
their
singers like
radio / computer / whatever phone, whatever they decide to listen to.
People like their phone will
it's an app.
momentarily blow up, and then they'll come back together. And be like, the Power Rankings. Exactly. We need something.
Power Rankings.
Yeah.
In first place, the Green Bay Packers.
That's true.
All right. So,
well, thank you. Yeah, in case you missed it, Green Bay is our number 1 team this year. This week.
This year.
Yeah, this year. Absolutely.
This whole year.
Just this week.
As a joke, when Baxter first posted on because we do it through Facebook. We have like a little group and of friends. And Baxter posted up there. He's like, power rankings, yada, 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 discount here, whatever. And then so my power rankings, I was just 1 through 10, Green Bay Packers. And then just left it at that.
And everybody was like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, but for real, though, Grant. And then he actually gave me his real ones.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't want to stuff the ballot box this week. I appreciate it. Now, Grant, if you were a highly successful player in the NFL, you would want to win a Super Bowl, correct?
Oh, of course. That's the number one goal, I would think. One of the goals.
Yes. Aside from the multiple accolades for excelling at your position and off-season awards and commercials and
Millions
money
of dollars,
and blah, blah,
dollars,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah, a Super Bowl is probably in your the back of your mind. You've
Right.
achieved all that other
You'd
success.
want to be known as you were the best of the
Yes.
best. Your
Oh.
team was the best, won it all.
Exactly. Now, that is a fairly impossible thing to happen if you're J.J. Watt.
Yes.
Because he plays for the Houston Texans. And last I checked, and last most anybody that has a sliver of knowledge about the NFL knows, is that Houston is not and probably will not ever be in the position to make a Super Bowl run in any time in the near future.
Well, yeah, not at least anytime soon that we can see.
Yes.
They've looked, past couple years, they looked okay. We've thought that they were going to do well,
a
and then
playoff, yeah.
they're like post 8-8 seasons, 7-9 seasons, and just don't see them get the ball off the ground.
No.
And this year they come out 0-2, so the season already doesn't look promising for them. So if you're J.J. Watt, what do you do? Are you thinking that, well, I'm just going to write out my career here because, well, and J.J. Watt, I would think, is that kind of guy who is going to just team first, not going to care. But I think in the back of his mind, he's like, geez, I want to win a Super Bowl. I don't want to be another Dan Marino here.
Exactly. So that begs the question then. If you're the Houston Texans or if you are another NFL team, what are you willing to give up for or what do you want in return for J.J. Watt? So if you're Houston and you're saying, all right, well, I don't even know. All right, Green Bay, we have J.J. Watt. I know this would never happen, but it's the first team I thought of course. We have J.J. Watt and we're willing to trade him to you. What are you going to give us in return?
Jeez.
Or just any NFL team as
right.
a whole. What would you have to give up to get J.J. Watt? Because he is not a player-for-player swap.
Right. No, I was just going to say you can't say, here, take this player for this player because, one, a franchise is not going to want to trade away a player that valuable.
No.
And there's not a lot of players that can match up value to value for what J.J. Watt is.
J. Watt? Like
J.
you're
Watt.
calling him like you're like
J.
bros.
Watt in the house. What J.J. Watt has done for the Texans organization with 20.5 sacks last some ridiculous number last season. Played wide receiver or tight end.
Caught a few touchdowns on offense and on defense.
The guy is absolutely nuts, and we all know that. And Wisconsin product. Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, you can. There is no player that you can really say matches up.
Would you trade Aaron Rodgers for J.J. Watt?
You. Why would you do that?
Well, just value standpoint.
Value-wise, yes, but that would never happen.
No, it would never happen.
Packer fans would burn cars in the streets.
What if
Lambeau would go up in
I'm
flames.
trying to think. So if you're Green Bay, hypothetically, this is just a hypothetical of what they would have to give up. I would probably feel that they would give up more than likely. They'd probably give up a first-round draft pick.
Definitely.
They'd probably have to give up a guy like Clay Matthews or Randall Cobb.
That's maybe a little much. I say if you're going to trade,
you're going to have to give him somebody
right.
else. You're going to have to give him a decent, a fairly great player to get J.J. Watt.
Okay, if you're going to trade him draft picks.
Yes.
And then maybe a lesser player, but not. If you trade him a first-round draft pick and then Randall Cobb, it's not worth it. There's no trade that I'm seeing if you're giving up a player that's worth it. If you really, really want J.J. Watt, or if J.J. Watt doesn't want to be there,
yes.
his value in some way is going to drop because teams are like, yeah, we know he doesn't want to be there, and it's your job to get rid of him, so we might take a little less. So I think they might get maybe a first-round draft and a second-round draft, and then possibly another. I
feel like you have to throw in at least one or two active players because I think J.J. Watt's the type of guy that you could see
maybe
warrant a few, maybe two players, two middle decent players, and a draft pick or two.
Maybe like a fourth or a third on the depth chart wide receiver,
Probably
or
a third, because you're going to want guys that are going to come in and produce if you're Houston, because why would I trade away my best player if I'm not going to get any players that are going to start on my team?
So possibly something like that.
Or even an offensive lineman, maybe.
Yeah, but
That's what Houston needs.
Definitely not money compensation, because we see that every once in a while, but I don't think
this isn't like soccer where you pay a transfer fee to sign a player from a team. It's
not
like that.
We do see sometimes where there is money compensations, but
yes,
it's like
but it's not here's a $50 million deal just to sign J.J. Watt. It's here's a player, here's a draft pick. Oh, and
a couple million.
Here's
like
a little
3
bit
or 4 million.
It's never about.
But yeah, you won't see anything like that. It's just kind of hard because his value is just so great. I don't see him getting traded. But if his contract comes up, and it's not like
he signed a new deal recently,
last
year, I believe?
Before last season, I think. Not this past offseason, but the offseason before that, he just signed, and I think he signed for an extended period of time.
Yeah, well, Houston wants to lock him down there as long as possible, which makes sense. Why would you not? He's the best defensive player in the NFL.
It looks like, because yes, he's the best defensive player in the NFL, but defensive players don't last as long as, quarterbacks like Brett Favre status. So, look, how long is he going to play? Because if his contract's 5-6 years, I don't remember off the top of my head, it could be 7.
And how long does he want to actually stay in Houston?
Right.
Are we
and that's pretty much that's pretty much his whole career. And does he want to play for a team that's mediocre his entire career?
Not really, no. If I was J.J. Watt and be like, look, I am the best at my job, I don't want to play for a crappy team. Yes, I'd ride out the season, but then I'd be like, you know what? I'd like to talk about possibly leaving and going to a team where I can actually win a Super Bowl. And no one can blame him for that.
But then again, how much value... Because here's the thing. Because a team, if they're going to want him, if they're not going to give away players, are going to need to give away draft picks. And if they give away draft picks to have J.J. Watt on their team for maybe 3, depending. This is all speculation. But let's say he goes to the Patriots for 3 seasons, Super Bowl caliber winning team. What does that do to their future if they already have lost a few draft picks from the Deflategate scandal and maybe give up more draft picks
it all
to
depends
the Texans
on how
for
much
J.J. Watt?
You have and
or any other team, even if they don't have draft picks taken away from them. They lose maybe 3 high round or low round, whatever, like first or second round draft picks. You maybe lose 3 of them for one guy to play for a couple of seasons. And
it's possible.
Yeah, does that affect the future of your team?
It might. It very might. Well, thank you for tuning into another edition of the Baxter and Grant Sports Show. Special thanks to Megan Landvatter, who dropped by earlier to talk about the Green Bay Packers. And we also got to release our new Baxter and Grant Sports Show Power Rankings. Go check them out. They'll be on our Facebook page here
Power
within the next hour. Exactly. Let us know your thoughts about anything we talked about today. Remember, you can catch us Monday through Friday live from 7 to 8 a.m. Central on Periscope and on Spreaker.com as well. And then from 11 to 1 p.m. Central on Sports Radio America and Live 365 and TuneIn, and then on demand anytime you want on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and on Spreaker.com.
You can also find us on Facebook at the Baxter and Grant Sports Show. We are also on Twitter at BG Sports Show and also on Instagram at BG Sports Show. Over on Twitter, Baxter is at Baxter Colburn. That is at Baxter Colburn, Colburn. I am at Grant's Rant, BGSS.
And the Q is silent in Grant's Rant.
Yes. With a PH for any sound that you might come across.
Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Baxter and Grant Sports Show. We will see all of you tomorrow. David Kenyon will be here to help preview the Packers-Chiefs game and the other exciting action around the NFL. You're not going to want to miss it. The Encyclopedia of Football always makes for a good time. Enjoy the rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you all tomorrow. And remember, if it happens in the sports world, Grant's probably going to rant about it. And if he doesn't, we're still going to talk about it here on the Baxter and Grant Sports Show. Enjoy your day. See ya.
Hump day.